Okay, so in the last four classes, what we have covered is that first of all, we have gone through the installation part of the important thing that we want, like the programming language Python we require, that is covered, and then on which IDE we are going to work throughout the course, that is covered along with some of the plugins and all. Those are downloaded and installed, and system is configured. Fine. In the second class, the basic things are covered, like what is the object oriented programming, what is the basic difference between object and object referencing, that is covered along with the constructor part. Then just a minor thing, that how using Selenium and Python, how do you actually open a browser, whichever browser you want to open, how do you actually do that? So for that there is a very small command that is being used. Just this command is used, like this is a proper way of getting to this particular command, so that you need to look for that how you actually get the drivers of the browser whichever you want to open. For every browser that you want to work with, for that you need to have the driver into your system, then only you will be able to get all the drivers running fine using this command. Otherwise, just download the drivers into your system and provide the path over here. That also is going to work fine. But for this, if you'll see this video along, then you will get more clarity on that. Okay. Then in the third class, we have been covering the framework PyTest, which is just a framework which is going to help you to manage the test cases which you are going to write. We write the scripts to test the different URLs. So how to manage those, how to differentiate it from the normal script and from the test scripts, that is what PyTest is about. How to write it, what are the rules that we need to follow, that all is covered along with the report generation, and those things are covered over here. Now in the very last class, what we were actually doing, we were able to open up the browser, we were able to navigate to some of the URL. Now next thing is to interact with the web page, right? And everything that you see on the page, anything, be it an image, be it a text, be it a button, link, whatever you see on the page, that all is an object. And to interact with the web page, I need to interact with those elements, with those objects. So how actually we can identify the objects, how we can just extract them from the web page and just use them, that is what we were covering about. There are different things that helps me to extract the elements from the web page. Like if I have to look for this text where it's writing Selenium, Python and C# training, if I want to just get the text of this particular statement, then what I can do, I need to inspect this. I need to look for the page source which is being returned for this particular element. So I'll right click on this and I'll get the option of inspect over this particular element. Same as with the every element that you can see, this kind of page is going to, this kind of window is going to come up, which is the basically it's the page source which is being returned from the server when we have looked for seleniumtraining.com. Out of it, I am looking for a particular element. So this is the particular element source which is being highlighted over here. It's inside a tag. The tags which are given to the elements, they are in the publish tag to differentiate over the inspecting screen that I'm telling you, that are in the publish tag. And the rest thing that you can see over here are the related attributes by which actually you can get them extracted, because on the same page it's a possibility that the same tag is being used. Like it's h1 right now, if you see above, there are two same tag name, this is also div, this is also div. So how to differentiate out of those? So that is going to help me, that is going to happen with the help of the attributes which are assigned to the tag. For those attributes, there are some optional attributes and there are some mandatory attributes, and every tag has a particular tag attribute assigned. The mandatory ones are different for every tag name. Now all those I will not be able to cover all of them, For that, I'll request you to please go and watch the videos for that. But I can talk about the optional attributes, which are three of them, which I have covered so far, which are ID, name, and the class. Now, when I talk about ID and name, so ID and name are such the attributes on the whole page source which are the unique ones. If some of the element has been given a id, like if I look for any element, like I look for this text box over on seleniumtraining.com, so this is the page source that got highlighted, and the tag name which is to given to this text box is input, and along with those there are the attributes given. Now I am talking about the optional one, which is value required, name, class, id. Which I am talking about right now is ID and name. ID and name are such attributes which are the unique ones. Like for suppose this particular text box has been given ID user input name. On the whole web page which is displayed over here will not have the same tag which is having the attribute ID as user input name. That is not possible. It is possible that the same element is having the ID as user input name also, and the name also is the same. That is possible for the same element. But the same name that is given to one element cannot be given to any another element on the whole web page. That is the rule of ID and name both. So if I have to extract element out of the page and the element that I am looking for is having a ID and a name attribute, then it's going to be very simple for me to just get it extracted and to access it. Fine. Now I know that how will I be able to extract the element from the web page. I need to actually interact with that as well. So how will I be able to do that? So for that, every documentation, everything that you want to see regarding Selenium, that's available on the official website selenium.dev. On this you will get every single thing. What is the class being used, what is that, everything is covered over here. I'll show you where. In the downloads link over here you will get that. Just wait, it's loading. So over here, yeah, sure. Hmm. Okay, sure. Sure, no issues. By the end of the class, just before 10 minutes, I'll be covering the PyTest, a small overview I'll be giving. But for the details one, I'll request you to please go and watch the videos, because that will be more, that will bring more clarity to the topic to you. Fine, but I'll cover the short ones. Okay, now talking, sure. Yes, they are done by me only. And where the pi test are, that also I'll show you so that you don't get confused, because there are so many modules on the page. So over here, starting from introduction to Python till the writing into Excel file, these all modules are the Python basics. If you are unaware about the language, you can go through all these videos. They have the amount of Python that is required to work with Selenium, so you can go through that. Coming after to this, then we get to the topic of PyTest. There are 5 modules which are just for the PyTest only, including how to generate the reports, how to customize the report with the logs, messages, screenshot. These are covered in the module what is PyTest, starting from this module till customizing LR report, till this part. And then further on, this is a small project just depending upon the programming language and the PyTest. In this project, there is no Selenium code that has been introduced, just a demo has been given, and then after there is the Selenium part coming up. Okay. So coming back to the topic which we were discussing, that after extracting the element from the web page, I actually need to interact with that. So for that, I have a class which is having a number of functions. And those functions are the generic functions. They can be fired on any element that you want on any browser. In the documents you will find that in the docs. Go to this link, and over here in the second last section you will get that in the last web element class I'm talking about. In this web element class there are a number of functions, as I said. Suppose I want to click on some element, I want to click on a button, I want to click on a link. So this click function is going to help me to do that. Be it any browser, be it Chrome, be it Internet Explorer, be it Edge, anyone. This is going to work on any element that you want. Then after, if I have some text box in which I have to enter something, I want to send some text inside. So how I'm going to do that? There is a special function for that, send keys. This is going to send the data whatever I want to send in the text box that I want to interact with. Now there are a number of functions. I cannot explain all, just a overview I have given. Now talking about, we know how to take the action, we know how to actually extract the element, but what is the command to extract it? Now there are different commands available, like this is the generic command, find element. To this function there are two parameters passed. One is the attribute, be it id, be it name, whichever you want to, and the second parameter will be the value of that attribute that you're given. If I'm using id over here, then the value according to this particular page, I just will go back. According to this particular page, the value of this text box will be username input, user input name. Fine. Using those commands I will be doing that. I'll just will show you that as well. There's a particular one made as well. Now over here, what is being done? I am opening Chrome browser first by using this command. Using the get function, I will be navigating to some of the URL. Whichever you want, you can just give it over here as the parameter and it will take you to that particular URL. Then after, I have to extract the text box out of this particular URL. So what I will be using is the command driver.findElement. As I said that there will be two parameters passed. What I am going to access is using ID. So that I'll pass. And what is the value of this attribute? User input name. And what I actually want to send inside the text box, it could be anything, whatever text you want to have. You just use the send keys function, and whatever you want to send inside, you just have that typed over here. Now if I'll just simply execute it, what will happen is it will open up Chrome browser for me like this. It's opening Chrome browser for me. Then it will navigate me to seleniumtraining.com. Once the page is loaded, it will look for the element whose ID is user input name and will enter the text inside. Now at the end, what I have done is, it's a good practice, you should also have an habit of doing so. What happens is that some of the browsers like Chrome, after successful execution, it got closed automatically. But when it comes to browsers like Firefox, so Firefox does not quit automatically. For that I have to use this command driver.quit, so that if my execution of a test script has been completed, I don't want my taskbar to get filled up with the extra browsers which are not required to be open. So that I need to do. Also, it also ends the session which is coming up. Be it any browser opening, be it Chrome browser opening, Firefox, it ends all the sessions. Fine. So this is a good practice to close the browser at the end of the execution. Okay. This is how actually I extract the element from the web page and I interact with that. The same way like this, yeah. Yeah, this is just for the sake of you people to see that how actually the output has been coming up, because it's way too fast. Just after entering the text inside, it quits automatically. It does not pause. But I want to let you see that in the text box the data has been entered. So that's why I have it. If you don't want it, you can just skip it simply. That's it. But just for the sake of demo, it's being used over here. Okay, so this is how actually I use the generic function to extract the element from the web page. Along with that generic function, I also have specific functions. Like if I want to use the ID attribute to extract the element from the web page, then I have the command find element by ID. Or to this particular function, I will be passing one parameter only, that is the value. Likewise, this specific function which is for the ID locator, ID attribute, I have another function which is for the name attribute as well, like this. So that also I can use for the element in extraction. So what I can do is I can just have this command find element by ID. Now it's not anything that I have done different, just that what I was doing before in two steps, now I have done that in one step. I have removed this variable which I was using to do the action. I have not used this variable anymore. I directly call the function, pass on the value which is given to that ID attribute, and whatever text I wanted to send, I use the send keys directly over it, and that is going to look like this. So if I run this as well, it's also going to give me the same kind of output the way it was giving me before. Went to the URL, will look for that text box, will enter that text over here, and after the time.sleep point, it will quit my browser. Fine. The same thing I can do with the rest of the attributes, like I have told about the name attribute. If the element has a name, you can give that as well. That is also going to work absolutely fine. Just that if you are using the specific one, you need to be careful that you need to enter over here the same attribute. Like if you are using ID, then the command will come over here. Sorry, if you are using name, then the command will come over here find element by name, and you have to pass on the value of the attribute given like this you need to be you need to be careful about. Rest everything will be fine. Now talking about the another optional attribute, that is class. Now class is such an attribute which can be shared by multiple elements. Why? Because class is somewhat responsible for the look and feel of the particular element. Now you can see over here the text boxes over here, they have the same kind of look and feel, right? They have the rounded borders, there is a fainted text written behind which is to be cleared. You can directly enter anything that you want and that will disappear, but they have the same kind of look. Why is that? Because there is a class named form control which has been given to this particular text box, and the same way to the rest of the text boxes as well, the same class is given. You can see over here this email text box also has this class applied over here. So if I have to extract unique elements, I have to access just this text box which is having the name, then if I use the class attribute, I may get error that there are number of elements which are being extracted by this class. So if you have to extract multiple elements at one go, then the class attribute will be very good, but not for a unique one. So this one I'm not going to take it right now. This is having a whole different concept that will cover in the coming videos, coming classes. So let this be like this only. But sometimes what happens on the web page, there are many elements which does not have the attributes like ID and name, the unique ones. Then how will I be able to access them? How will I be able to extract them from the page? That is the question that comes up, right? So for that we have a different kind of locator. We call them locators because they are going to help me to locate, and the name of that locator is xpath. Now this is the part still of the class, right? So xpath, this is also a unique address of element on the web page. If you have ID and name, you can use the xpath with that also, there is no issue in that. But if some element is there which does not have the attribute id and name, you can use this locator. This locator is of two types. One is the complete XPath, complete or absolute XPath, which starts from the root of the page. That means from the very first tag of the page, and the very first tag of every page is always the HTML tag. So the XPath, the complete XPath, the another locator, will always start from the HTML. Fine. So if I have to make the complete XPath for any element, like if I have to make it for this text over here, which is this home link, so what I need to do is I need to right click on it. I'll get the option of inspect it, click on this inspect, and the highlighted source of this element will be coming up over here like. Fine. Now to make the complete XPath, I'll request you to watch the another one because it takes some time to explain that as well and to make that as well. I'll jump on to how actually copy it from the inspecting screen or from the page source. You can just click on this highlighted part which is being reflected according to the link, according to the element. You can right click over here and you will get an option of copy. Over here you will get the option of copy full XPath. If you'll click on this copy full XPath, what it will give you something like this, which is given over here. It will give you like this. You can see over here that it starts from the HTML tag, which is the first tag of the page, and then from that page only it keeps on going and going and going until I find that element. So this is what is the complete XPath. Now we actually don't use the complete XPaths. We refrain ourselves from using it because in any time the page layout is being changed, there can be addition and deletion of tags. So my full XPath is going to be affected by that. So that's why we don't actually go with the complete XPath. We prefer with the second type of XPath, that is the partial or relative XPath. Now, what this XPath, why is this XPath different from the complete one? Because what it happens, it actually does not start from the root of the page, but it looks for the attribute which is the unique one, like ID attribute. That is the best one to look for. If any of the element is having ID attribute, like over here, if I'll say this, or let me just have some another element. Let's say I'll inspect this one. This is also having class ID user input. Yeah, okay, let's say this is the whole form, right? This contact us form, it's a full form over here. So if I have to inspect the elements inside, so what I can do is I can look for this this form tag over here which is having an ID. Suppose that this text box does not have any of the attributes, the unique attributes ID or name. So what I'll do is I will move further to the upper tag to make the partial XPath, and to that particular tag I will look that whether there is the ID attribute given to the upper tag or not. If it is given to the upper tag, then it's fine. I'll start building my partial XPath. If it is not given, then I'll move further to the upper tag and I'll repeat the same thing. I will look that whether that particular element or with a particular tag is having the ID attribute or not. If it is not, move to the upper tag. If it is having the ID attribute, then we'll start constructing the a partial XPath. Now how actually we need to do, or how actually we do that? So to make sure that we are making the complete XPath, we start with the double forward slash, and in here there I can start with either giving the tag of the element I'm looking for, like over here the tag I'm taking this particular source, so this is having a form tag. I can directly give over here as form. So as many as tags named by form are there on the page, they will be highlighted like this. In the yellow they will be highlighted. But right now we also need to make it unique, right? So we have to make it more. How, I'll just will come to that. But if you're going right, this kind of yellow highlighted screen will come up. Now if you don't want to use you don't want to give the tag over here, you can skip that and you can use star. It will select all the page. That's up to you. You can use both of them. I'll use the form tag. Now I have to make this form tag unique. So I will be looking for an attribute. So if I look for this form tag which I was looking previously, this is having an ID attribute like this. It's having an ID attribute which is having the value contact form. So I'll say in the double squares at the rate ID, the name of the attribute I'm going to use, is equals to, in the single quotes I'll give the value, and the value of that attribute is contact form. So you can see over here there is only one element that I am getting by just giving this part. Now I have to move further and I want to access the things inside. So I have the div tag over here, and then I keep on going and going and going like this. Now this is some another form that has been come up, but this way the XPaths are made. If I'll just take some another URL to show, let's say I use the flipkart.com. So over here you can see that this is the page I'm getting for login. Now if I'll inspect this user, this particular text in which I have to enter the mobile number or email ID. So if I have to make the partial XPath for this, how will I be able to make that? You can see over here in the highlighted part, this input tag, this text box actually does not have any of the unique attribute named ID and name. So I have to make the XPath for it. The complete XPath I cannot make because it is going to be very huge, and I cannot rely on that because anytime the page interface can change. So I will go for the partial XPath. So now what I'll do is I'll look for the attribute which is going to be unique. I'll move to the upper tag. To this upper tag they are using the class attribute. As I said, class attribute we do not use. Why? Because they can be shared by different elements. So I'll move to the another upper tag which is the form tag, and it is having an attribute named autocomplete. So I can take a look at this attribute and I can try making the XPath by this. So what I'll do is on the inspecting screen I'll hit Ctrl F and I'll say / form. I'll give the tag name. What I'm looking for, the form tag who is having an attribute autocomplete which is on. Some may have off as well. I want to look for the on one. So this way my form got highlighted by giving this. Inside this I have the text box under the div tag. So I'll move on with the hierarchy and I'll use the / single / to move in the hierarchy, and I'll give the tag name ahead which is the div tag, div tag. Now here you need to look for that if there are some parallel tags at the same level. If you'll see over here, just a minute. Yeah, so I'll just will have that again so that you can see that @auto complete equals to on. So now over here on this screen you can see that there are, under this form there are 5 tags which are same, which are having div tag, and they are same to each other. So how will I differentiate in which tag I want to go? I have to specify the number to which tag I want to go inside. If I want to go into the first tag only, so by default if I don't give any number to this tab, it is going to highlight it, the first tag under the parent tag. If I specify the number, that's also not going to harm the XPath, it's going to work. But in any case, I want to go inside the third tag and I do not specify any number. that which tag I want to go inside, then it's going to take by default the first one, and I'm not going to reach to the element I want. So over here the numbering is important in the XPaths. If I have to go to the third one, this will be specified and it will take me to the third tag under the parent tag. Right now I don't want to go to the third tag, I want to go to the first tag because there I have the username and password text boxes. So I won't be specifying number 1 over here, I'll move further ahead. Inside the div tag I have the tag input, so I'll say input. Over here also I have two different XPaths which are being highlighted like this. You can see. So till time I am not having my unique XPath. Why is it so? Because one of my input tag is in the first division tag and second one is the second division tag. So I have to specify over here explicitly that I want to look for the element which is in the first division tag. So that's why I will have to give it like this. And now I have only one element which has been highlighted by this XPath, which is the enter email text box. And this is how actually my partial or relative XPath actually looks like. This is how actually we make it. Sometimes we need to make the XPaths by our own as well, but it's not always we have to make ourselves. What we can do is we can just go on to the highlighted part, look for the element which you want to, right click and inspect it, click over to the highlighted part, you will get the option of copy, and over here you get the option like copy XPath. Previously we used copy full XPath, which will give me the complete XPath. Now I will be using the copy XPath, which will actually give me the relative or partial XPath. Like this is what I'm going to get. Now it's returning me the complete XPath. Maybe I have not copied it properly. I'll just will copy it again. It's giving me the partial XPath, the complete XPath only, but somehow there is something wrong over here. But usually it does not give me like this. It gives me the complete, the partial XPath. Fine. Also along with this, there are tools available to get the allocator XPath made automatically for me. I'll just inspect it and they automatically make the XPath for me. In Chrome, I have the tool named CrowPath. Now depending upon the attributes which you have checked over here, like I have checked all the attributes, that whatever comes up, just look for that. And they are coming like this. If there is ID, then it will make the relative XPath according to the ID, the class, the name, likewise. And over here it will, along with that, it will give you additional information that what is the tag name being used with the element, what is the class which is being applied, what is the ID value, name, ID, everything it's going to give you in detail, along with the XPaths. The complete XPath is also going to be coming over here by the name absolute XPath. This way it's going to come, and then it will give me the relative XPath, which is the partial XPath. Now in this case it's returning me the complete XPath in both the cases. Why? Because it's a different window that is coming up for the login process. So that's why it's making it from the root of the element. But this way also, if you make the XPath for the elements, it's going to absolutely work fine. Okay. Now this was about inspecting the element on Chrome. It's also possible that I have to look for the element on different browsers. Maybe you are more comfortable with Firefox, so that also you can use. So for Firefox, what is actually going to happen is, in Firefox what actually happens is that if any element is there which is not having an attribute named ID, any of the element, it's a possibility that the ID is not given to the attribute to the element, right? So what it will do is it will always give you the complete XPath if the element does not have ID attribute. Like over here, this home link. Again I have to do the same thing to inspect it. Right click, go to the inspect option, and this kind of window you will be getting. Now this link, this home link, does not have ID attribute over here. So if I'll right click over the inspected screen and go to the copy option, and copy the XPath from here, what I will be getting is the complete XPath. And if there is any another element, like if I talk about this element 24 into 7 support, then also it is having a span tag which does not have the ID and ID attribute. So this time also it's going to return me the complete XPath. You can see this way. So Firefox is having this issue while extracting the elements. If the element has the ID attribute, like this element, this text box has a ID attribute, right? Uh, so this time it's going to return me the partial XPath, the relative XPath, like this. Like this it's going to return me. This is in case of Firefox. So you need to be little careful about making the XPaths over here in the in Firefox. But likewise Chrome, there are tools available to check your XPath. If you're making your XPath by your own as well, then you have tools available to check for your XPath whichever you have made, that is it right or not. If there are multiple elements which are being highlighted or which are being extracted by that XPath, that tools are available. Usually two are used. One is the try XPath. You just need to go to your browser and look for Firefox add-ons, and over that look for XPaths, and it will give you a list. Fine. So over here the first tool is try XPath. Now this is used when you are making the XPath by your own. Like over here I'm going to look for this one. So this particular element along with the ID attribute also have the name attribute. So instead of using the ID, if I change it and I make my own XPath by the name attribute, then I want to look that whether it's the right XPath which is being made or not. That I need to look for. Right. So I'll just will make the XPath by my own, the partial XPath, and this is the XPath that I have made by my own. Using the try XPath, what I'll do is I'll look that whether it's right or not. I'll pass on the XPath that I have made like this. Once I have given it, I just need to click on execute. If it is right, if the XPath is right, then it's going to give me the message over here as success, that yes, there is a element on the page which is being highlighted by this particular XPath. And how many elements are there? There is only one element which has been highlighted with this XPath, and where it is lying, here it is lying. Like this, in the red dotted line, it's going to highlight that element. Likewise this. Okay, in any case it is wrong. Suppose it's wrong, it's not given rightly, so I'll execute it again. Now I don't get any count over here. There is no element that is coming up over here. So this is how actually the try XPath works. Same way, I have another tool which is called XPath Finder. Now this is kind of hovering onto the screen. Wherever you want to hover onto the mouse, you just need to click on this and it will start hovering over the mouse. Wherever you want to take your mouse, you can. Like suppose I want to look for this particular element. This ID I want to look for, and I want the XPath of this. I'll click on this element, and there I get the XPath by using the Finder tool, XPath Finder tool. This way. Even if I want to look for some another one, I want to look for this whole box. Let's say this one. So it will give me the XPath of this button I want to look for. So this way I'm getting it. Then I want to look for this text box. Here I get. So these are the two tools in Firefox which you can use, and they are going to give you an accuracy of the locator that you're going to make. Now talking about how actually we use the XPaths. There's no difference between using it. You can just go on and you can use the generic function as well, find element, and there is specific function as well, which is by find element by XPath. This is going to work for both type of XPath, be it complete, be it the partial one. For both, these commands are going to work fine. Okay. Any questions, any doubts till this part? Okay. Likewise, the XPath, I also have one more type of locator which is called CSS selector. Now, CSS selector is totally different from XPath, but both are unique addresses of element and both of them can be used. It's just that CSS selector, it's just that the CSS selector that I'm talking about, it's faster to make as in comparison to XPath, it's faster to make and also it is more reliable also you can say. But both of them are going to work fine. If you want to work with XPaths, that's also fine. Just that, as I said, CSS selector is different from XPath. When we have to make the XPath using the ID, we used to specify the ID like this, right? I give at the rate and name of that particular attribute and specify the value. But over here in CSS selector, there are symbols used. For ID, the hash is used. In front, you'll just give the value, and in front of the value, just provide this hash. That's it. I'll show you over here. I'll just will come back to my Chrome over here in the this one. Now I want to look for this name attribute or is this email attribute. This is having an ID which is having the value user email address, right? I want to make the CSS selector for this particular element. So what I'll do is I'll give the value which I have just found and ahead of it I'll just will add hash. So this is how it's going to highlight the element which is uh, pointing to this element which is having ID attribute having the value user email address. So this is how actually the CSS selector of this email ID, this text box looks like. If you want to give the tag name along with that, you can give that. There is no issue. You can just give the tag name. There is an input tag which is having the ID user email ID like this. This is also good to go. This is also that can use. So two different ways of making XPath and different ways of making CSS selector is possible and that's over here. Fine. Now over here it's kind of different when we talk about the classes because over here if I look for for this flipkart.com and I look for this element, you will see over here that there is a class given and there is a space between. I'll just will show you. Inside all these there are spaces given. This space you can see over here. This space actually denotes that on the element there are more than one class that has been applied. There is not only one class, more than one class that has been applied. So if I make the XPath for this, I can give the class name directly that this is the class name and by this class name find the elements. But in case of CSS selector, I don't do that. I cannot do that actually because if I'll give that, if this is my ID, right? This is my ID that I've got and over here I'll just give that. To work with the IDs in CSS selector, the symbol used is dot. You need to prefix dot in front of the class name and that will make the CSS selector. So if I follow the same rule, this is the class name that is given to this email mobile text box. I'll put dot. So there is nothing that has been highlighted. Why so? Because there are three classes which are applied. I have just given the CSS selector of one class. So if there are more classes, then I have to prefix dot in front of all. So I just have done that. So now this time it has highlighted the text box which was having these IDs. This way I have to give the CSS selector of a particular element which is having different classes assigned to it. If there is one, that is also fine. If it is more than that, that's also fine. Okay. Now, this is that if any element is having an attribute ID or class likewise. But in any case, there is the element which does not have these attributes. Then in that case, what is to be done? In that case, we have to make our own CSS selector. Likewise, we have made the partial XPath and the complete XPath. Likewise, we will be doing so. So the same way the thing is going to happen, like I have to have a particular element which is having a unique attribute. Like in this case, there is a form tag which is having an element, which is having an attribute autocomplete. So I can say that form, I directly give this. Now in the CSS selector, I don't have to give any particular at the rate signs or like double quotes or something like that. I don't need to give all that. I'll just give the tag name form. For this form, there is an attribute named autocomplete, which is on. This is how actually my CSS selector for the form looks like, which does not have any attribute like ID, name, class, nothing like that. This is how it looks like. And in case of XPath, it was the way it was looking like. So you can see the difference, how easy and convenient the CSS selector looks like. This is how actually it goes on. Fine. Now, after this, from this form, I need to go to this input tag, which I was talking before, right? I have to go till this part. So how will I move further in the hierarchy? For CSS, XPath, we used to use the forward slash. In case of CSS selector, we use the angular brackets, which is pointing to the head one, the parent tag, this way. And then I can give the tag name as well. In CSS selector, the tag names are not compulsory. You can skip them if you want. If you want to give them, just make sure that they are given rightly. Fine. So there is a div tag here, and as I said that there can be more than one div tag which is available, right? There are 5 div tags which are parallelly available. So how will I be able to specify them? So over here we use the term nth child like this. Now nth child is totally different from the way we use the XPaths. In XPaths, what we used to do is, if there are same name tagged, they are same name tags, then we give the number like 1 2 3 4 5 6 like that, right? But in nth child, if I am having different tags as well, they are going to follow a series of number. Suppose over here these are division tags only, right? Suppose except for division tags, first is the division tag, then second one is some I tag, third one is some H tag. Likewise, I have different tags. But if I am making the CSS selector, the nth child, which I am talking about, the term nth child, it's going to follow a sequence. Be it the first tag div, so it will have the nth child as 1. If I want to go to the second tag, which is some I tag, so I'll give the nth child as 2, like this. So this is the concept why, because of why the tag names are not compulsory to be given in the CSS selector. Because if suppose over here the second tag is some let's say label tag, and I have given as div tag, then it's not going to identify. You can see over here in real there is div tag, but I have given the tag name as label, so it's not highlighting anything in the CSS selector. So if you are giving the tag names, make sure that they are right. If you are not interested in giving the tag names, just simply skip them. That's not going to make any effect on your XPath. It's going to be looking like this, right? Nth child, now it has come down to the hierarchy to the child class, child tag, like this. Ahead I have to move on. There is an input tag that I'm accessing, this one. So I'll directly will give one, and I'll say nth child 1. So this is how actually it has been given in the CSS selector for this particular element. Over here, this way. This is how actually the CSS selector looks like. No tags are compulsory. You can directly just be like this, nth child, Make sure that the number is given right, otherwise maybe the element may not get highlighted. If it's on the first one, you are giving number 2, it's not going to extract it. Fine. Now also there is one more advantage in CSS selectors. Like if I have a full long hierarchy which is going on, likewise forms, there are 20 or 30 elements which are there in the form. There are 30 or 40 attributes which you need to fill, but you want to extract the 15th tag out of the whole form. So CSS selector has an additional feature that you can skip all the flow. You can skip all the hierarchy going down and down and down. If it is nested also, you can skip that. What you need to do is you need to give the parent tag, which is my case is the form, which is having a attribute complete autocomplete value having no sorry on. To move on into the hierarchy and jumping directly to some particular element which is maybe nested or not, you can just give a space, and then you can say that there is a tag. Let's say I am having a tag input which is having an id, or it which is having a class. In my case there is let's say take it as autocomplete, which is having a tag auto complete equals to off. Likewise this. Now there are two tags which are being highlighted from two different tags they are coming, but likewise in my case there is no class or something like some unique element is not there, but you can look for that directly. You can skip the whole hierarchy, be it nested or not. You can just give the space between, and you can give the particular element which is having a specified tag. So this is how actually the CSS selectors look like. Okay, any questions, any doubts in CSS selectors? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rest the class over here only, because it will be way too complicated for you to cover everything in one class. So just over here I'm going to rest it off. You just try working with this. You know how to extract the elements now, how to identify the different elements, how to extract them by the commands which are like this. These are the specific ones. If you are working with the XPath locator, you will give find element by XPath. If you are working with CSS selector, you will be giving find element by CSS selector. If you are using the generic one, then you need to give over here the name of that particular attribute and the value ahead. Sorry. Yeah, sure. See, PyTest is very simple. It's not that complicated. It's just that there are three conventions that you need to follow while making it. Firstly, you need to have PyTest into your system. So for that, there is a small command that you need to give. On your command prompt only you need to give that. You just need to go to your command prompt. After installing Python, you will be doing it. Go to your command prompt, and the command that you need to give is pip install pytest. This is the only command to get pytest into your system. Fine. By giving this command, if once you press enter, it will start collecting all the requirements in dependency and will install it into your system. I have it in my system, so I'm getting like this. Otherwise you will be getting it. Fine. Now if you are using PyCharm to work with the to make the project, then in PyCharm one thing is that whichever external package you are using, you need to make sure that it is installed in the PyCharm as well. Fine. So to get it installed here as well, to get it imported here as well, you need to make the project. Go to your settings. There are two settings that you need to make. First one is go to the tools, Python integrated tools, and over here by default the test runner is unit test. You need to change it to PyTest. Fine. Once this is done, you will go back into the navigation pane over here, and here your project name will be given, project name over here. Need to go to the interpreter, and over here you need to add that particular package which you are going to use. You are going to use PyTest. You need to click on this plus, and over here just give the name of the package that you are going to start with. I'm going to start with PyTest. The spellings are wrong, this way. So it will be highlighted over here. You need to click on install package, and that particular package which you are going to work with will be imported over here. Fine. Once it is imported, you can start making your first module. Now the convections, the rules that we need to look for, they are quite very serious, and you need to follow all of them. Otherwise your test case is not going to be identified. Three rules. First rule, the module name or the file name that you're going to make should always start with the test underscore. Test underscore should be prefixed in the file name, the name of your file which you are going to give. Ahead it you can give anything like my first uh, demo test case. Likewise you can give any name, but it should be prefixed with test underscore, the module name, the file name. Second rule says that for the class, we make the class the test classes, so it should be prefixed with test. For sure it should be prefixed with test, but with a capital T, with a capital T. This is going to be your second rule. Third is the making the test case itself. Now test cases are not different in making from a function. It's basically the function only you created by using the def keyword only. Just that you need to prefix it with again test underscore. You need to prefix it with test underscore, and then only it's going to consider it as a test case. Otherwise, if you don't prefix it with the test keyword, the test case is not going to be counted. Fine. Like over here you can see, this way I have made it. This is my first test case that I have made, test underscore, and then I have given the name whatever I want to give. I want to give it as demo name. Inside it I can have anything, like if I comment all of these and also this one, inside this I just want to give print first test case, this way. Fine. This is going to open browser. I'll comment that as well, and I just will execute it. I'll get number of options from where I need to execute. You can go onto the workspace, right click, and you will get an option of run PyTest like this. And this is how it actually captured my test case. It gives me the test station starts. How many test cases collected? It collected one test case, and what is the output? One passed, like this. In any case, I forgot to follow any of the convection. I forgot to add this underscore. Then I want to run this, or I forgot to add the whole test name. Now it's a normal function that is being made over here. And for a normal function, what I need to do is I need to call that function. You can see I got an error over here. Process finished with exit code 5, that there is no test case, and here also I get the information as no test collected. So this is the violation of my third rule, naming of the test case. The same thing follows for the module name as well. Like out of all the test cases, this is the only module which is not named as per the convection. I remove the underscore out of it. I refactorate it, and now I want to run it again as PyTest. So again, this is the convection that is being run as per the PyTest only. I'll run it simply. So it's coming up like that, but maybe there is configuration that is made which is being picked up from here. So if you don't follow this convection, it's not going to run over here. If you'll run it in batch, I'll say run PyTest in batch. So I get it as the insertion error and rest and all. But over here, you need to follow the convections. Okay, this is the basic of PyTest. Okay. So important thing is to follow these convections. Rest everything is fine. You can look for the whole module. everything is covered in these 5 modules as well, in the class videos as well. If you look for them as well, you will find more clarity on that. Okay. Okay, so I'll rest the class for, yeah, sure. Go for it. Tomorrow? It's a Monday to Friday batch. So Monday to Friday it will be going on. Okay? Okay. No issues. So I'll request you to practice all the things that you get into mind today. And if you are able to complete the previous sessions, try that as well. Get your system ready. And I'll see you in the next class. Uh, Thank you.